Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's episode number 92. We're almost there to the 100. The date is the 29th of July, 2024. The working title, I should tell you that bit is outside of the, I'm not supposed to tell that bit. I shouldn't tell you the main host is either. But today is episode 92. Thank God you're back to this car crash, hey, Johann? Speaking of which, Johann, how was your holiday? Go for it. Tell us all, make us all jealous. Tell the world how good it was to go away and just recharge. I'm so jealous. Go for it.
So yeah, no, it was literally just 2 weeks. So Saturday that I left, as I was going to the train station, I uninstalled everything: Teams, mail, calendar, everything got uninstalled from all of my devices. It was all left on one device on my MacBook Pro, and I put that in my bag, in my suitcase, and I've literally just taken it out of my suitcase now. I've not opened it in 2 weeks. Nothing. I mean, over 800 emails to go through, but that's a different problem. But yeah, 2 weeks of complete R&R basically, and it struck me that as well that when I do my time off, I have phases. So I've got phase one, which is where my mind just shuts off. It really does not care. Like, chill, don't think of work. It's not a fight to stop it from thinking about work. It just doesn't think about work. It's amazing. Phase two, I start thinking about work again. Normally a third to halfway through the holiday. But that's okay. That's manageable. I just do things to go and keep myself distracted. So my wife and I, we never book anything for the first kind of third of the holiday. Because I know I'm going to need those distractions in the second two parts of the holiday. So that was very much just chill, cocktails, fresh fish and seafood and stuff. Absolutely incredible. 26 degrees, sunshine all day, every day. I thought 26 degrees was hot. We stopped over at Dubai to get as a changeover for our flights. We arrived at 2:00 in the morning into Dubai, 37 degrees.
Oh,
God knows what it gets up to during the day there, but I did not want to be there when it happened. But yeah, and then so second part, very much doing events and stuff like day trips on the boats, going to see the islands, snorkeling, etc., just to keep my head out of the working mind frame. Started jotting down some ideas, got loads of cool ideas to help improve uptake of features and stuff in Engager, when I'm going to start implementing today onwards. And then I always spend the last couple of days like, right, I'm ready. Get me home. Like, there's no point in doing a day trip or anything on those last few days because my mind's just not in it. I'm already ready to go back. My batteries are recharged. So yeah, and literally installed Teams and the mail app and everything this morning. Like, I was really good. I didn't install it whatsoever during the weekend while I was traveling. We literally went in this morning, and you know what? Out of those 800 emails, I've probably got about 80 I need to deal with. The rest are just junk or FYIs. So yeah, all good. Refreshed, recharged, ready to go.
nice one. I love it. And did you did you have a chance to watch the Formula One?
So we watched the first half of that, Hungary Formula One, before we went out for dinner, and then we were doing the BBC update. Yeah. And then it was the BBC updates because we had a table reserved. And then, which absolutely gutted about, because that looked like it was one of the best races of the year. So to not watch that live was a bit gutting, but never mind. And then this weekend's, this is how far planes have come, right? I sat and watched the qualifying live on the plane at Emirates.
Really?
So Emirates had Wimbledon, all the Olympics, the F1, and the Euros on live throughout the summer.
That's mad. And that's what you want when you're because you want distractions, right? It's boring when you sat in a plane. So
13 and a half hours worth of flights.
Exactly.
So yeah, well happy.
And there's only so much you can download beforehand, right? Like, there's only so many box sets you can have on your iPad.
Yeah, I mean, I was sat watching Succession on the plane, so that was good. But to watch the F1 live on a plane was a bit surreal. And then we watched the F1 live on the train back from the airport.
Oh, wow. So you got to see it?
Yeah, so I got to see it. Absolutely great race. Then my phone binged. George Russell disqualified. What? Over 1.5 kilos. That'll teach him for getting rid of the bag of sugar.
Well, you know what happens, don't you? This is you think about it, every other race in the whole world, you get to do a 1 lap out, don't you? Do that little out lap.
Yeah.
Or in lap should be. Spa, they make you spin straight in. So normally they go sit there collecting all the stuff on the tires, don't they? We always mock them for it. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you playing around at?
1.5 kilos worth of rubber balls.
Yeah, exactly. So upset for him, but you know, rules are rules. I did do a cheeky little QuickBooks versus Zero post about it this morning. So you know, for me, you know, Zero. That's George Russell, right? You're not even playing by the rules. You just get that bit of fleet in the sun, fleeting success. What the history books tell you, Sir Lewis Hamilton. That's what is doing. That's QuickBooks for you. You know, playing by the rules. We are brought to you by the wonderful guys over at Apron. More on them later. And we have the most important people in the world here with us today. So we've got our community. We've got Cheryl here this morning. Good morning, Cheryl. Hope you are okay. Natasha's here. Good morning, Natasha. Kirsty's here. Good morning, Kirsty. Tim's here. Good morning. I got to see his what he gets to look out to on a daily basis from his office. Wow. You know, when we have cool office locations and we go around, that is high up on the list to go and see.
You go see Tim.
Yeah. Marcus there. Good morning, Marcus. Hope you are doing well. Sue's here. Good morning, Sue. Hope you're doing well. Karen's here. Good morning, Karen. Dave's here. Good morning, Dave. Paul's here. Dave also says, I hope you enjoyed your Mauritius holiday, Jan.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I need to go back on the diet, but...
Yeah. Clive says, good morning, love the kids' summer holidays. I can tune in live and we're grateful to have you here, Clive. Hopefully keep us honest. We know that you can tell us what's right and wrong. Susan's here as well. Love the QuickBooks versus Zero ad. Exactly. Right. Okay, cool. Let's have a chat about today's breaking news. Well, should it be breaking? That's my question to everyone. So the first topic we're going to bring up is Revolut. Revolut, the bank, has now become an official bank, or at least got a provisional license to become an official bank. Now, before we go into the details and go and talk about the stuff that ring, my question, first of all, is why is this come as such a shock to us? Have I missed something? Because, you know, maybe I should have done more, you know, look into this beforehand and everything else. But I remember Starling becoming a bank. I remember Monzo becoming a bank. Maybe I should have been more, you know, on the ball and noticed that Revolut never became the bank at that point. But should we be more vigilant about stuff like this? Because I don't know about you, but we don't physically promote banks out there because we're not allowed, right? But I will still put a list of, here's some really cool banks you should be considering. And we put it out as a, you know, whenever someone starts a new business or something, there's a link to a load of them that we like. Some of them we get a few kind of small kickbacks from that we disclose and all that sort of stuff. But most of the time it's just because we know that they're cool banks. I personally use Revolut. I use all of them, to be fair, because, you know, want to see what I'm using sort of thing. But I was really shocked when this news came through and almost like, oh, yeah, no, that's right. They're not a bank yet. Should we be more vigilant though? Is this something that is there, you know, is this on us that we should be, if we're going to quote unquote promote, even though we're not allowed to promote, but if we're going to mention a bank to a client,
recommendations, then yes. I mean, Revolut have never been on our list of recommendations.
Seriously, they've never been on it.
Never been on it.
But other than the bank, what's the reasons?
Because we knew, because I'd done my due diligence, as it were. And I knew that if anyone got defrauded of money from a Revolut bank account, Revolut weren't legally obliged to reimburse that money. And with the amount of business fraud that goes on at the moment, of like literally, I had a new employee join Engager 3 weeks ago. Within a week, he'd received an email saying, "Oh, it's Johann from a different email address. Can you pay this bill, please?"
Yeah.
Now, never going to be an issue because he's not got access to the bank, but that's happening all the time now, right? So we know the chance of Revolut, of any fraud happening, is really high, and being defrauded, especially in, like, I always look at some people and go, really, you got caught out by that spam on a personal level? Like, come on, common sense people. But when it comes to businesses, we're so much more exposed to it because we've got employees who may have access to things that, and may see an email from Johann and go, oh, well, Johann sent me that. That's about different email address, but Johann sent me asking me stuff for this in the past. So in my firm, those that have got access to the bank have also been, we've got a process in place of, if I ever email you anything, you call me and verify it first. Then we deal with it. And 9 out of 10 times they know I'll just do it myself. I'm not that lazy. But because of that and the risk of being defrauded as a business bank account being so high, I've always said we wouldn't put them on our list of recommendations because they won't reimburse that. So regardless of their licensing status of a bank, I'm more interested in, have they signed up to certain commitments that protect my client, their customer, in the case of being defrauded.
Interesting. So for me, I mean, I use Revolut personally. Do I have it? I think I have one business with it, but only a very small business I've got. So I tend to, have multiple businesses that can then try multiple, like we try Virgin, right? On Ask the Accountant, we tried Monzo as well, right? Like the whole idea is that we can use them ourselves, see what the pain points are, and it gives us a better opportunity to advise our clients, right? But what I love about
you can do this, this, and this, but then we charge you. They're the ones that you really need to use personally to understand. Like,
exactly.
Where does that charge actually sit, and how practical is that? Like, oh, I'm allowed to do X before I get to the charge. Well, actually, I don't think I'll ever cross that. And then you realise within a week, it's like, oh crap, I'm about to cross that. This banking is no use to me.
And then when they've got pots and envelopes and all that, like how does that actually properly work and all that? Because one thing you've got to give credit to for Revolut is that they definitely have changed the game of what, I'm going to call it quote unquote here, bank should be offering, right? Like the reason I use it for personal use, and I don't hold all my money in there, but we have like I transfer money over, is because you can trade in crypto, you can buy stocks and shares, you can get gold commodities, you can do all this sort of stuff that a typical bank just wouldn't ever give you the option, or a high street bank wouldn't give you the option, right?
Is that potentially also why they were more cautious about signing up to fraud protection promises and guarantees? Because they knew we're letting our customers do Bitcoin and gold and stuff. Actually, that's even more risky. We're going to get stung left, right, and center here for refund.
100%. And that's probably, and if you look at the numbers though, they're staggering. So last year they did 2022, sorry, they had 0.92 billion pound in revenue. In 2023, they had 1.8 billion pound in revenue, up 95%. Okay, that's interesting. But what is like crazy is the amount of money they hold. So they're holding 13.2 billion customer balances in 2022. 2023, 18.2 billion. But you compare that over to Monzo, because Monzo, like, they've got a banking license, they are there. They hold 6 billion. So, a third pretty much of what Revolut hold, and Revolut aren't even classified as a bank. It's pretty scary, right? Like that it can get to that high a number, that those sort of numbers are being told. I suppose Revolut's more, is it more? Yeah, I suppose Revolut is more international based as opposed to Monzo. That's pretty very UK based, isn't it? But that's
Revolut started in Europe and then came to the UK.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I always caution people about when it comes to these banks is that for a long time, I don't think it's an issue anymore, but for a long time, Tide was a nightmare for certain things.
Yes.
So if you applied for like a bank loan or a mortgage or something, Tide didn't count as a bank account. So all of that, if that was your only banking provider, you've had it. Like, so that's the other thing that we always looked for was, are these going to stand up as and be accredited as a bank account for personal banking and stuff in the future? And for that reason, we didn't recommend Tide until recently. And we still don't, because we think there's cheaper models out there than this transaction fee that they do. But yeah, it's scary that there's like 13 billion accounts across Europe. Didn't take any of that. They were happy to sign up where there was no fraud protection or anything.
Yeah, but I don't know. But they don't make it very clear, though, do they? I mean, obviously they're not going to sit there. We are not a bank, but it is tricky, right? Like you don't, unless you do your due diligence, unless you really look into it, you don't know these things. Like you just accept, you're just accepting it is. And
we only learnt about Tide through a customer, through one of our clients struggling.
right. Yeah.
Like it was then when we also learnt that Tide had their bank card was actually a prepaid card. It was a prepaid card. It was an expense card basically. So yeah, you only learn about a lot of this stuff through clients or your own learnings, which is why you've got to test these things.
But we saw it in COVID, right? Like there was only Starling out of the challenger banks that was ever granted the opportunity to give out COVID-based loans.
Yeah,
that they were the only one that was. But then they were the only one that got their banking license by then, right? Like they were the only one that were given that opportunity. So yeah, it's going to be and it's tricky as well at the moment because the whole landscape is completely changed, right? Like as Tim says here, we use Revolut as temporary solution for new companies because it takes about 3 months to open a bank account here, and it's not just there. It's not just because it's in a Guernsey or anything. It's because everywhere, like you try and go to a high street bank now and set up a business bank account, it's red tape after red tape after red tape after red tape after booking after everything else, isn't it? Like 3 months actually isn't too bad a time frame for some of the horror stories we've seen, some of the clients that we've had trying to get their bank up and running. And for a lot of them, these challenger banks are an absolute godsend because they can start trading within 24 hours as opposed to 3 months. It's really difficult for them out there, and that's why these challenge banks are so popular. It isn't necessarily all these cool features and all these things, which I actually like. For me, the feature of Revolut that has always been grateful for me is the fact that you can have those temporary virtual cards, right?
Yep.
If I'm going to buy something that looks a little bit sketchy, create a temporary card, make the payment, dispose the card. Like there's nothing more protective than that, is that they don't hold any of my bank details or anything on file now because that card's gone. Even certainly with my high street banks I use, they don't give me that option, and that's what 5 years ago that was introduced.
Yeah.
So that's the bit to me that excites me, and that's the bit that I can definitely see why people see this as a popular choice and they're going in.
But also, I did see an article. Was it before I went away or while I was away? Someone had got into their Revolut business bank account, quite a big business as well. I'd argue that business had no place being with Revolut in the first place. But someone had got in, issued hundreds of temporary cards, and at £200 a go, they'd spent tens of thousands of pounds within hours.
Wow.
Using that temporary card structure.
And I imagine it was some code or something that let them set them up. And
it turned out the reason they used those temporary cards was absolute spite, because if you set up all those temporary cards and then cancel them, where does where does the refund go to?
Of course.
So it was absolute malicious. Like, not only are we going to defraud you of your money, we're going to make sure you can't get it back from the retailers. So pros and cons.
Yeah, 100%. Kirsty says, I'm upset about Tesco changing to Barclays. I love my club card points, etc., and pay in full as Martin Lewis. Where next? Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I still hold on to some of my, personal credit cards and everything else, just because I'm tied into some sort of point ecosystem, right? Like that's normally, I don't care about rates or anything like that, or, Revolut now will have the option, if they get granted a banking license, of becoming a credit card provider. Am I going to move credit cards? Probably not, because I'm already locked into the point system I've got, right?
You've got Revolut was somewhere that you can't use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Revolut was a great way for me to have a South African account for paying abroad, and also an under 18s card that I easily monitor and top up. Yeah, they seem like really simple solutions, right? But they make a huge difference.
Got a good under 18 card.
Who's that? Sorry?
Starling's got a good I think it's called Kite. I wouldn't recommend Starling as a bank for business owners at all at the moment because they're debanking so many people under AML. They're saying, oh, you no longer meet AML. So lots of businesses are being debanked, but personal customers, they do fine with Starling. And I've got a lot of people that I know that use the Kite card for their kids to pay for their lunches and stuff. And it means adults have got complete live control of what's happening.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And disposable cards are great. Yeah. Maybe I should have been more due diligent about it. Maybe I should have seen this going forward. Oh, we got a few messages.
All these features look too good to be true.
Something like that. Yeah.
There's always something behind it. And it's like, yeah, these are great features, but actually it's because we don't have to abide by the banking license.
We got some messages over at Instagram. First of all, Stephanie says, he's back. We missed you, Johann. There we are. Okay. Only Instagram missed you, apparently. The rest of the platforms. And also said Monzo releasing under 18 accounts soon as well. So yeah, Monzo jumping on that one. And Monzo was a weird one, right? We tried to use Monzo for Ask the Accountant. That was my only proper use of them. I've obviously got clients who use it, but I never had a chance to use it ourselves. But very strange model. The way they worded it was that we could only connect QuickBooks Zero or them sort of stuff if we had a paid for account. There was so many ways in which to get access to this, it was behind a paywall and a very strange way of doing things. But
it was a very Zero model, wasn't it?
It was.
We've got all of this, but they're all behind different paywalls. Good luck.
Which probably makes sense why the Zero users really like Monzo, right?
Oh, we love a paywall.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, before we go into our next one, we best make sure that we show you all our wonderful ads. So we've got an amazing ad for Apron that tells you all about how great their receipt capture feature is. So roll the ad.
I'm here with my friends over at Apron, our new sponsor, and we've got an amazing feature that just went live. It's called Capture. And this is going to revolutionize the way you get data from your client. Watch this. Get the receipt, take the photo, bish, bash, done. That's it. This is going to be dead quick, dead straightforward, dead simple, and more importantly, easy for your clients to use. Did I tell you got WhatsApp as well? What more do you want?
F1 inspired ad there. It's amazing how much the F1 was involved at Accountex, wasn't it? Because Air Wallets as well, they were sat there with their McLaren stuff on as well. They're a proper partner. So yeah, CrowdStrike were in a room next door. But we don't talk about them. No news is good news, right?
I was abroad, so it wasn't an issue anyway. But did you have any issues because of CrowdStrike going down?
Not personally, no, or in the business. No, we didn't
use an Apple device.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Yeah, we were immune to it as sitting in our ivory tower over here with no problems whatsoever. Okay, cool. We had a couple of other news. I'm hoping you know what's going to happen here. But TaxCalc's had a big update. Their new update is for workflows, a new chapter in our journey of innovation, introducing TaxCalc Workflow, formerly known as Practice Manager Plus. Our advanced practice management solution has evolved with TaxCalc Workflow. You're a TaxCalc user. What do you feel like this is something that's going to help hinder your business? I suppose you don't need a practice management solution, but is there anything in there that looks like it's going to improve it? Is this worthy of an update? Tell us your thoughts, John.
It doesn't look like it's anything groundbreaking to the practice management space. I know for a fact that TaxCalc is a very highly demanded API request from our users at Engager, because they like the accounts and tax return solution. They don't like the practice management solution. They use us for that, and they want to have an integration with TaxCalc, and we keep asking for it. And I know it was very highly demanded at Bright Manager and stuff like that. And TaxCalc have just never really wanted to come to the dance floor and dance with anyone. And And this might be why, because they've had this up their sleeves. Yeah, automated workflows, customizable job templates, automated task completion. I suppose automated task completion, that's quite a cool one from the point of view of I press file of my accounts, I press file of a tax return, it will mark that job done. But that's on the
It's the
assumption.
dream, right? It is the dream we've all wanted, right?
It is, but it's on the assumption that that is your final step. So, for example, in my firm, our final step to a self-assessment tax return isn't filing a self-assessment tax return. It's sending out a review request. So we've done your annual tax return. Hope you liked it. Blah, 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 blah. Can you leave us a review? Here's a link. That's our final step, which is a status update email thing that goes out from Client Engager. So for us, if the whole job got marked done before we'd actually done that final phase, we'd have a problem.
But if you just moved it over to your next phase, you're happy, right? Like that's like
yes.
come 31st of January, if those ones are moved over to I've got 50 odd that I still need to send a review out, but the ones that are filed are done. That's what you're interested in, right?
Yeah. So there's nothing on there that isn't already done in the practice management space. It's great to see a general tool, shall we say, where it's not best in class because they try and do everything. I would say they're definitely best in class for accounts and tax returns, no doubt about it. But all their other stuff, it's like Capium, their accounts and tax returns are fantastic. I know you love their payroll solution for directors, but it wouldn't be the payroll solution you choose for bigger companies. So those kind of companies, they do some bits exceptionally well. The other bits are a bit average or poor. So hopefully this brings up what has been quite a dated, old school kind of practice management solution to a more modern approach, which is good for them. My only concern is that's a retailable model. Their workflow, what they're now calling workflow, is I think they charge £40 per user per year for Practice Management Plus or something like that. I could be wrong, but is that why they're not willing to talk to other practice management tools? Because they want that retail model there. They think that's enough for them to make money out of it. I don't know.
Or maybe the positive spin is that they've renamed it from Practice Manager Plus, which sounds like a complete and utter, rival to tax account workflow. To me, if they're pushing more into a workflow-esque, that's what you're getting. Let's spade a spade sort of idea, right? They're not building a practice management solution as such. They're building a workflow solution, a task management solution. Doesn't that open the doors to, okay, then bolt on whatever practice management solution works for you? Hopefully that's the case, right?
Yeah. If they've looked at it and gone, right, we're not going to do practice management solution, but we are going to do this workflow solution, and that can cohabit alongside other solutions and other practice management solutions, fantastic. Because it's like you always say about QuickBooks Practice Management. It's not a practice management tool, it's a workflow tool. And it's certainly one of the reasons that at Engager we have focused so heavily on workflows, because we know technically everyone does a workflow. We need our workflow to be more powerful to compete with everyone, to be above everyone else's workflow solution. And then we've got all the PM solutions as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see how they get on. I get on really well with the guys at TaxCalc, and I'll be asking to see how things are going and what their uptake is and stuff. But yeah, it's a step in the right direction for TaxCalc users, that's for sure. Whether it's good enough to be diverting you from Engager or Bright Manager or something to them, maybe it's what Pixie users are looking for, or QuickBooks Practice Management Solutions are looking for. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I love the idea, though, that they've made more powerful their what if planner and their dividend database. So dividend database is always something I've longed for Capium. Like that's something that I used to really heavily rely on over at Iris World. That's one of their benefits they had. You come to do a tax return at the end of the year. If you already know what the shares they hold, it'll populate what dividends they've had. So your £2.20 that they've had from XYZ can automatically be populated for you, than you having to go through a load of paperwork to find it. Love that.
My only issue with it is what we're in. It's now the end of July. Like, I know we've already filed nearly 20% of our tax returns for the year. They need to get this database live sooner. Now, I'm sure it's actually restricted by those that report into the central point and for them to then pull the data, but it's too late for 20% of my returns already.
In this day and age, it should be RTI information, like real-time information, right? Like, I don't see why you don't have that. I must say though, like, it's the same as the HMRC tool where you can bring in pay slips and stuff. We've had the same thing. We've had to file so many of our returns without it because P11Ds and stuff. Now, hopefully with P11Ds going, that's one of the benefits we'll have, right? Going forward, that data will be available, hopefully from the 6th of April, because that's when it should be available, right? But we'll see. We'll see if that. But you're right. Like, those dividend databases, they should be real-time information, and you should be able to lean on them.
As I said, I don't think that's TaxCalc's fault. I think that's FTSE 350 businesses not reporting quickly enough or being held to account to report quickly enough, and then the central database not being ready to be released, basically.
10 years ago, Iris had real-time information on a desktop. I suppose TaxCalc is a desktop, so yeah, I can't really use that as an argument. But
what if Planner? I don't know. It's a paid add-on.
Okay.
It's not expensive, I don't think. It's just never been really of huge value to my client base. Like, for my client base, that the changes are minimal, and for it to go, oh, well, what if Planner for 24-25? What if we cross this threshold? Well, actually, I could already tell you that. I didn't need a bit of software to tell you what the implications of going into the higher tax brackets are and earning this amount extra is. And for the last 5 years, I'd say it's been a pretty redundant piece of tech, purely because the government keep changing what the rules are and aren't going to be and what the tax rates are. So actually presenting a what if scenario is neither use nor ornament. Now, Labour have said they are going to scrap that because I think they calculated over 5 years there's been 29 changes to business tax laws. Yeah, and that's phenomenal. Like, there's no wonder we are all stressed and worked to the bone. But Labour have said they're going to make it an annual change.
Yeah.
Now that suddenly brings in the what if there's more consistency and assurance in what we know today is what's going to happen next year, then actually, yeah, that makes the what if planner a lot more powerful as well. But I think it's really there for your bigger clients, your high net worth clients. And what they would do very well if they did is if TaxCalc plugged in AI to, like Todd.
I was going to say AI, yeah, exactly.
Because this is like the analog version of Todd. Of if my client now takes this, what does it? It comes out with a number of an increase or decrease tax. Whereas if Todd was powering into it, there might be more options. There might be more tax planning solutions coming out of it. So yeah, again, it's a good tool. We've not really used it ourselves because our clients are too low net worth, or they're not interested, or they're stable. They know what's going to happen. The only implications is if the government changes their rules, and TaxCalc won't have that insight any more than you or I do. But yeah, it's one of those tools I keep looking at, and I keep waiting for the right circumstances within the UK to go, this is now, and the right client base for this to be, for me to go, it's worth the add-on. It's worth the
I mean, like anything with this, like, it sounds cool, but can we turn it into actually a service that we can pass to our clients? Only your own client base is going to tell you that, right? Like, that's that you've already said, because this does lead to a really nice business advisory cost or fee or something like that if your clients are going to be up for paying that little additional fee or whatever the fee is going to be, then this could be a really powerful tool for us. If we ever have these sort of questions, we have to create a dummy account on KPM or whatever, and we run the scenarios through that dummy account, and it can be done, but it's messy, right? And like we don't want messy. We want clean and good workflows and ones we can trade it, because I couldn't get any of my team to do that. It's too finicky, right? Like, but if we had a nice planner tool like that, maybe that's where we can start going, you know what, more members of the team can start dishing out this service. We can promote the service more. Let's see if it's going to be worthwhile for us, because we all need more service lines, right? Like that's what we need to stay relevant. So it is, it seems like a cool tool. I would never use it because it's still desktop. Like we can't use desktop in our practice, but the idea is there. So cool.
Yeah.
And innovation hopefully breeds, right? So hopefully that means that the rest of them will take it on and go through from there.
Yeah. I quite like the AML update. The AML Centre's got a slight update. Improved reporting, which is always so important when it comes to AML.
100%.
But also the ability now that when you do a new risk assessment in TaxCalc, it's not just a case of starting from a blank. You can bring forward details from the previous risk assessment. Now, the risk is that you bring it all forward, you just go, yeah, that's all the same, and you don't consider it properly. But if it improves some efficiency behind AML, then that's always a bonus as well.
100%. We've got some comments coming in. Paul says, I did file my first CT600 in QB Pro Tax last week. And it was all nice to have it all in one place. Yeah, I mean, it's the dream that we could have everything in that one area, right? I don't think it's quite there yet. Well, I know it's not quite there yet. But yeah, like the idea that it shows what that workflow could be. And one day maybe we'll be able to kind of have that fulfilled. But I think the only thing is that, yeah, it's great having it all in one place and it's all there, but it still comes back to, we would still want that connection to our practice management solution, right? Because it is ultimately the practice management solution that's the most important database out of all of them, because that's telling you, have you done the work for the client or not done the work for the client, right? That's the bit that I still think is the dream of having those two connections. Like Johan's already said, like you file that set of accounts, well, let's have practice manager updated to reflect that so that we all are on the same page. We can run one report and go, look, this is the capacity I still need to do, and this is the deadlines I still need to make by whatever date it's going to be. Yeah. Ashley says, late but here. Good morning, gents. See you all Wednesday. See you Wednesday. Oh, it's you, isn't it? Yeah, and yeah, you're on his show, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on his podcast Wednesday lunchtime, talking all things Engager.
Oh, that'll be an exciting one. That'll be good. And is it restricted to just 15 minutes, or are you allowed to go longer?
It'll probably be more like 30 minutes.
Bless. He tried so hard to have that 15-minute one, and then people like you come along and just ruin his brand.
Just got more podcasting stamina, so you just got to keep going.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right. Next story is Sage and Stripe are now talking to one another, having opportunities to come along and give you opportunities to offer them as a payment solution. Stripe is already part of the Zero group, I believe. I think that's what powers their payments, isn't it?
This opens up an interesting question, because I was told by people that will remain unnamed at QuickBooks, because I kept saying, why can't we have a Stripe integration? Why can't we have a Stripe integration? I mean, I think we all know it's because they had the PayPal deal. But we wanted a Stripe integration. I didn't have to keep going to a third party like Dex Commerce to pull in bleeding Stripe transactions. Like, we have to use that for Engager, like, because all of our collections come through Stripe at the moment. But I'm like, come on, why am I having to use third parties to pull in data? Stripe should just be able to plug into QuickBooks like it does with other things. And I got told several times over several years, oh, Xero have got an exclusive contract with Stripe, we can't go near them. Well, Free Agent's got a deal with Stripe. Sage has now got a deal with Stripe.
But is that because of a timed exclusivity?
I don't know. Like, the Free Agent Stripe integration works absolutely flawlessly. Like, you can use it to pay for the powering of the Pay Now feature. Like, I would say it's one of the Stripe's got to be one of the biggest payment providing solutions out there, right?
100%.
And one of the cheapest, and that's why it's so big. And we're still stuck with a bloody Pay Now button at 4-point-something% from PayPal on QuickBooks. Right, it's got to change.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I don't know if Stripe's the answer. I know we've long, wanted choice in that pay now button. And we know that the reason there is no choice is because for QuickBooks to allow someone on that pay now button, they have to have full control over it so they can help the end user, all that sort of stuff that comes into play. But from a Sage point of view, I assume that means that there is no more, there will never be again Sage Pay, because I know they sold it off, didn't they? It was a product that they sold off to a thing. But I love that idea of Sage Pay. I thought that was a cool little concept, right? That they could, they could power end to end, but obviously
but then
they've not seen any return on it, so they've sold it.
Yeah, and that we keep looking at Engager Pay as an option for Engager, and we're struggling with it. If I'm honest, like it's proving a challenge to find a viable option of way and power it that makes it commercially viable to our users.
Yeah, because making your own is completely out of the question.
And you look at like things like Chaser Pay and Nomi Pay and Iris Pay,
KPN Pay, I think the same one as well.
KPN Pay, yeah, like they're all powered by these white labeled products, but are they commercially viable? Is the charge out rates and stuff, are they competitive? I don't know. I've not looked at it properly, but I know the uptake's pretty low for all of them.
Because isn't it more? It's less about the fees and the fee structure and everything else. Isn't it more that they don't really offer much of a workflow? I mean, maybe it's because we've nailed. Well, I say we've nailed, but we're really happy with our workflow, our practice, right? Like, if a client comes on board, we grab their payments off them in relatively, even though, like you said, from a fee point of view, it may not be the most attractive, but actually from a workflow of let's just make sure we get paid. I mean, we were having a conversation with someone the other day about debt collection and how they're trying to come into the UK and trying to take on the UK market. I said, one of the problems we have as a practice is that we've got 6 different ways that clients could pay us. But actually, the reason we have 6 different ways is because each one has a reason for that payment to be there, right? There's an attractiveness to that client, or there's we're making it frictionless as possible for that client to make payment or to ensure that we get paid on time. So yeah, there could be more attractive ways in terms of fees and everything else, but for that particular circumstance, for that particular payment method to go through, it makes a lot of sense. So I don't mind if I'm paying a little bit extra or there's a few fees here and there. And I feel like that's what these solutions don't give me. They don't give me anything extra. They don't give me a better workflow. They're not giving me something that makes me go, oh, you know what? My client's going to have a better experience using that, so let's sign up for it. It seems like at the moment we're in that situation where it'd be lovely if there was one payment provider to rule them all, but there isn't. And we've just got to kind of just accept the fact that, there's a risk factor to the fact that we've got multiple payment structures coming through, right? Yeah. Even us as an accountant, we still get to points in our month where we're like, not reconciled our control account properly, because the integration's not worked and we've got to go through and manually find it and all that sort of stuff, right? You times that by your whole client base, and that's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, payments is one of those things that's always going to be a bugbear, I think. But yeah, I just think it's interesting that everyone now talks to Stripe and QuickBooks doesn't, yet Stripe's becoming, or is the biggest payment solution for websites, anything. Subscriptions are so easy to manage through them. QuickBooks needs to get on the Stripe bandwagon. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, or offer an alternative, right? I mean, if this was 5 years ago, PayPal was such a dominant force that you'd just go, right, convenience-wise,
and we did.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. But then you see like huge chunks of money going missing, as it were, in fees. You just go, you can't, it doesn't take long for you to go, well, sod that, I'm turning that off.
Yeah.
I'd rather take the risk of the client being a bit slow paying me than lose 30 quid to a fee because it's a larger invoice.
100%. But with this Stripe integration, I assume, it's going to be just plug and play really, and then that's what you want, right? I wonder if, and I don't know if this is ever been integrated into any others, I wonder if they'll go down the route of actually allowing the subscription-based payments come through, because we have that activated on our website for various certain bits of our smaller services, right? Like you want to buy a QuickBooks license offers, for example, and we use Stripe's effective, that it's not a direct debit solution, but a subscription-based recharge.
A credit card or debit card charging.
Yeah, exactly. More subscription. I mean, is that something that we'd find useful on our invoices if we ever had that opportunity? You know,
the problem is you've got to make sure you've got the flexibility there. Like the beauty of Go Cardless, for example, is it will collect whatever your invoice tells it to collect.
Yes.
And if that goes up or down, it's not an issue.
Yeah, it's true direct debit, right?
Yeah. Like at Engager, we've had to build out, Peter's had to build out some solutions where if someone stops a subscription and to upgrade to a new subscription, we need to credit and debit some refunds and stuff ourselves on the Stripe account to make it work. So we automated it all, but it's how we make sure, it's how you can do that simply as an accountant. So without having to go, right, fee review, your fee's going up for X, Y, Z, you're agreeing to that, that's fantastic. I'm going to cancel your Stripe subscription. Can you sign up again, please? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? And every month they bring on a new employee, for example, and it goes into a new band or whatever it's going to be, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So we need to have the ability for it to go, we've got permission to take money off this bank card. Every time an invoice is raised, we will go and take that money based on the amount set on the invoice. So yeah, it's proving a huge technical challenge for us at Engager at the moment. So
makes sense. Cool. All right, let's go back to previous topics that you weren't able to wade into, and let's see what your opinions on these matters are. So the first one is Dex coming along and basically simplifying the process, right? They're going to bring all their free solutions under one banner, which sounds absolutely brilliant to me. I think our expectation was that was going to happen sooner, right? Like the fact it's finally here was great. And they're bringing along mileage and supplier extract as well. As a former Dex user, what do you think? Do you think that's a positive, net positive? Do you think that's, how do you feel like this puts them against the rest of the competition out there?
The fact that it's all in one place. I mean, I still don't understand why it's taken Dex Commerce so long to be integrated into Dex or Dex Precision.
Yeah,
like it's been 3 different software logins basically, and it's just never. I just think you lose so much value of what could be talking to what and powering what. There's so much opportunity there for them to add real value to that. If all 3 were properly in one place, talking to each other, etc., like that's got so much power to it. But it's that value's not been there, and hopefully that will start becoming possible and deliverable now that they're merging all 3 into one login and one place. So yeah, no, it's a positive direction for them.
Yeah, it makes them the premium product, right? Like and that's what they need to be. They need to be seen as a premium solution.
They've been charging as if it was already there.
Yeah.
And they haven't delivered it yet. Whereas now it's all in one place. That will be a lot easier. Like the fact that, I needed to make some changes to my Dex Commerce licensing and my Dex Prepare licensing recently. We've taken on Joe Wood's firm and moving things around. We were backwards and forwardsing for 3 or 4 weeks with the Dex team to try and get things merged over in a format, send them something in a format that they were going to accept that was completely bizarre. And the fact that my account manager had to go away and talk to someone else to be able to work out what to do with the Dex Commerce side of things to bring those licenses into play. And yeah, it wasn't as clean and easy as it should be when the same software owns all of it.
Yeah.
But hopefully now that those users will start seeing that value being delivered.
Yeah.
And also, I imagine they'll get an uptake in sales. Like if it's all in one place.
Yeah.
If Dex could analyze your transaction data, for example, and go, oh, we're assuming, because Dex has always been very good at going, we assume it's going to take you 3 minutes to process this receipt. For that reason, we believe we've saved you this amount of time
Yeah.
this month. Well, if they're going through your data and they go, we assume we're assuming we could save you this amount of time on each online transaction going into bookkeeping. If you take that time and times it by this amount of your salary or whatever it is, or your hourly rate, and you then compare that to using Dex Commerce with license at this amount a month, here's the saving you could have. That's a real value add. Like it's helping you to be more efficient and save money in a long way around. But so if they could start delivering that, because all that data is in one place now, fantastic. That's got to help them with their upsells.
Yeah. And they've got to build it more of a platform, right? Like that's what their strength has to be. Is it Dex as a platform? You attach Dex to a client, and all this magic can happen. You know,
you wouldn't use Hero Payroll or QuickBooks Payroll or QuickBooks Receipt Capture or something if you had to log into a different website to do it. Like it needs to be in one place.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I'm hoping this is and hopefully if it's all in one platform as well, more meaningful updates can happen. That's going to push it even further, right? Like that supplier extraction is a step in the right direction. The mileage thing gives a reason for people to install or gives reason for clients to install the app, right? That's what they need. They need those little hooks to go, right, this is why Dex is so useful for you. It's because it gives you and all these benefits. At the moment, it's good for you, but we're gonna have to sign that up, and there's all this friction to get yourself signed up. So fingers crossed, that's in the right direction. What about your view on the world of Apple bringing out Vision Pro to the UK? So it's been in the US for a while. We've seen it. Like we were sat there, maybe jealous, maybe not, that we weren't able to use it. What's your view on it? Like, is this something because clearly you've not gone out and bought it. So there's obviously, and I highly recommend no one ever goes out and buys it. Let's be honest. But what do you think? Do you think this is too soon? Do you think we need this sort of technology? Do you think it's the future? Go for what's your opinion on it?
I think there's use cases such as the AR side of things and the VR side of things. Like when you're training doctors and dentists, amazing. When you're sat there with it on and you're visualizing an F1 car or engineering schematics or architecture or something, amazing. Do we need it in our roles? No. And I'm quite pleased that it's right. So I'm looking at you. I've got 2 monitors here, which is about $1,500 worth of kit. So if I go and spend another $4,000 on a AR headset, I've then got $1,500 worth of monitors not being used. So I'm sat there going, well, I'm pleased it went to America first, because I think if it went worldwide, I'd have probably been sucked in. But because it went to America first, it saved me $4,000 because I'd watched everyone else's reviews, and entertainment-wise, amazing. Like they've just launched a new update, which means you can watch F1 in it. Now that could be incredible. And I am slightly envious that you get to watch F1 through your Apple headset, if I'm honest. But I'm also like, that's not enough to justify $4,000. If I was starting out from scratch today in my firm with no kit, I may consider it. Instead of buying monitors to work along because you can't just work on a laptop. If people do, hats off to them, because I don't know how they can do it effectively and efficiently and productively. Like I need the screen real estate I've got. But if I was starting out today with no kit, I would probably go and get a MacBook Air and a Vision Pro, because the Vision Pro would be my multiple screens, my productivity center, and my MacBook Air would be that travel and the powerhouse behind everything on the Vision Pro. Anyone that's already got monitors, etc., unless you're already planning a big upgrade, I don't see the need to spend that kind of money on the headset. I don't think it's unique enough at the moment. I think it's a very cool tool. And I think certain industries are going to benefit from it straight away. Like I've watched videos of surgeons practicing the surgery they're about to go and do.
Yeah.
And to work out, could this work type thing. And they're trying to lead, people are getting new medical innovations and surgery innovations because of AR. And that's amazing and great that Apple Kit is powering that, because you certainly couldn't have done it through Meta. Whether we need it in our workplace, not right now. Like, I love the fact that it works and it's viable, but I don't think it's ready for the mass markets yet.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, when it does become the next version, it is available. I think there's definitely enough use cases for accountants. I 100% see it. And
I think we will all get away with a much smaller office.
Like, yeah. Well, also it means that office can be anywhere, right? Like, exactly. How many times have you jumped on a train, gone somewhere, and an email's come in and you're going, oh, I can't deal with that now. Even though I'm sat on a train doing nothing, like if anything, a nice distraction like that would be worthwhile. I'm like, I can't do that now because I don't have the gear in front of me to do it. Like that
I can do it, but I've only got my laptop screen or my iPad screen, and it's going to take me twice as long to do because I've only got one screen instead of multiple screens.
Exactly. So, that to me is where this becomes right. That monitor's setup, that comfort, that efficiency setup, you can bring that anywhere with you now. Like that's the one and only benefit we have at this point in time. Is that enough? Probably not. But if we get the form factor right.
Yeah, like I think if it was a bit lighter, and if I hadn't just spent $1,000 on a huge curved monitor, I would be more open to the idea. I think it's just not the right timing for me, considering the investments I've made in refurbing this office. Whereas I do love the idea of having a desk with a chair and sitting there with a headset on and a keyboard and mouse and just powering through my work with multiple screens, dragging and dropping. Like, I use Brain FM at the moment to help me to have a background music that just helps me focus and stuff like that. I imagine that on the AR headset with your remote environments and stuff, amazing, absolutely incredible. So I can see it, and if in my circumstance I hadn't just spent all the money I've spent on my office refit, I would probably go, actually, that's the solution. That's what I need. But I'll be interested to see what comes out in the next few years from it. Like, I will be making the purchase at some point. Version 1 might just not be that point.
Yeah. I get it. I agree. And you're right as well. Meta's definitely not the solution. As I keep going back and forth on them and seeing how much better Apple's implemented it than ever before, but they're still not got it right. Cool. A few last takeaways. My takeaway this morning from AJ is happy workflow, happy life. Could say better themselves, right? Like, yeah, exactly. What better workflow than using MailChimp as well? There's a nice little plug for you. Have you seen their adverts lately? They're coming to UK, like it or not. They are coming to the UK. Cool. Anything you want to talk about before we say goodbye, Johann? Anything else anything people should look out for? You've got Wednesday, haven't you, with Ashley? Anything else?
So Wednesday lunchtime, I'm with Ashley talking all things Engager. Wednesday night will be our first weekly live in a couple of weeks for Engager users. I'm promised lots and lots of updates and news to be delivered. So watch this space. The development team and product team have had 3 or 4 weeks of no releases. They've all been stored up, ready for when I got back. So fingers crossed that we have some excitement there. I'm sure we will, knowing them. They'll have a one more thing tucked away somewhere. And then I've got loads of webinars to schedule to help get people using Engager to implement it even more and start using features that perhaps they're not using yet, like automations and stuff like that. So,
Sounds good. Brilliant. All right, everyone. That has been a very entertaining episode of Ask the Accountant. We are back next week for same time, same place. More news, hopefully more news that are actually, we can get our teeth into. Otherwise, we're going to be scraping the barrel, if I'm completely honest. It seems to be a quieter time, right?
Some holidays. Everyone's on
Uh,
holidays.
I guess. But come on, give us some news. Give us some news. All right, buddy. Thank you, everyone who has contributed today. You've all been absolutely amazing. Great to hear your feedback as always. And we will see you the same time, same place next week. Another exciting episode of Ask the Accountant. Bye for now.
Goodbye.